Welcome everyone to What the Force, and welcome to a new episode of Bad Batch Report. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and with me for all these episodes is Kyle Gould.
Hello.
We've had quite the day. We traveled many, many hours.
12 and a half hours.
Yes. And so this is like What the Force on location?
Sure, yeah.
Or What the Force throughout the world, in a way.
That is viable as well. We are on the edge of North America's western coast.
Mm-hmm.
We can see the ocean from our hotel room floor, and we are very tired. But nonetheless, we have seen the Bad Batch, and I am looking forward to conversing with you about what it all means.
Yes. This was episode 10, Common Ground.
Common ground.
And
what the hell?
Every episode, I can see how, like, if they were writing a one-line synopsis of the episode, how every episode's title would be like, oh, okay, yeah. But when you dig into the episode, it ends up becoming a little bit more intense, and there's more to it.
The thumbnail on Disney Plus says Common Ground and then shows a picture of Sid and Omega. And you think, yes, Sid and Omega have found common ground. No, they haven't. This is foolish fictitiousness. I mean, it's definitely Sid and Omega getting to hang out this episode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I never really trust thumbnails to get at the heart of an episode.
But I will say, of all of the episodes to date, possibly this one makes the most sense.
Oh, of the title?
For a title, yes.
Yeah. This was written by Gershman Sandu,
And
who's
directed by Saul Ruiz.
Yeah. Which is, he's directed quite a few of the episodes, and she wrote Cut and Run, which was the second episode. And again, this episode was really interesting and tight, and dealt with the previous Clone Wars, concepts at least.
Absolutely.
The Separatists and the head of the Separatists, and
Was the planet Raxus? Is that what it was called? I think it was Raxus, right?
Raxus, yeah.
What an amazing opening shot
Yeah.
in this episode. Like, you get that wide angle pan far back, slow
So much
zoom
establishment of like the culture, and I don't know if they ever went to this planet in the Clone Wars. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever seen it. I don't know if we got culture, but we definitely got architecture, and I got a semblance that this planet is pretty well to do, and that the people are rather affluent, or at least the ones we get to see. And this planet is one of the head separatist nations, which I wasn't aware of to begin with. I was like, oh, senator, he's a senator. Oh, okay, right. But it does stand to mention that all of the senators for all of the systems in the Republic, the separatists still had senators, right? They were still part of the Republic. They just wished to secede from the Republic.
Yep.
And I really liked the guy with the monocle.
Yeah.
He was super cool.
I liked his sort of like very classic Victorian chops that like his beard. And he was actually played by a really wonderful actor that I'm like absolutely in love with, Alexander Siddig, who more commonly known for his role on Star Trek Deep Space Nine as Dr. Bashir.
What was the Crusades movie that I thought had like Leonardo DiCaprio in it, or someone along those lines? And he's in that as like the educator blacksmith guy. Is that right?
Oh, let me see.
Everything I see him in, I love.
Kingdom of Heaven.
Thank you. Yes. He's so good in that.
Yeah, no, that was a really wonderful movie too. It wasn't Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, I didn't.
It was Orlando Bloom.
Oh,
that's
I mean,
what you're
the
thinking
same
of.
person.
No, that movie was really solid too.
Mostly because it didn't have Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, woo. Oh, okay. I mean, it was really a star-studded.
Is he in Master and Commander as well? Is he the doctor on the ship in Master and Commander?
Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to check.
What's great is that ever since I saw him in Deep Space Nine, I've looked for him in other pictures and movies, and every time he pops up, I always go, oh, it's him! It's Dr. Julian Bashir! And usually my family, not my nuclear family here that I have created myself and found for myself, but the one I was born into, usually eye rolls at me.
I don't think he was in Master and Commander, actually. No. I mean, he was well known for being in Game of Thrones.
He was in Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Who was he in Game of Thrones?
Doran Martell.
Oh, okay. He's the one that the sister. He's the brother of the sisters. He's like the brother or the father of Oberon Martell.
Yeah.
And I think he gets murdered, and the sisters go on a oath of vengeance.
Yes. Yep.
Man, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, way to completely screw over your own franchise.
Yeah, way to disenfranchise.
Disenfranchise, yes. Mm-hmm. That should be the term for when a franchise totally screws themselves up with an ending of like, you've created this epic world. I was reading this whole thing on how like there's a marketing engine and merchandise engine behind Game of Thrones, and how the ending itself for the last season and the last couple of episodes, you could actually see in real time as people started to pull themselves away from the merchandising because they couldn't sell it. Like, so the businesses that were buying the merchandise couldn't sell any of the merchandise. And so, like, there was this, like, almost U-turn where things were getting returned to, like, the Game of Thrones properties and stuff like that. And so they actually had negative sales post the
epic conclusion
Game of
Thrones.
Yeah, so like endings matter for longevity of story.
Gotta leave them wanting more and happy.
Yeah.
And Game of Thrones did neither of those things.
Neither of those things.
I would go so far as to say Star Wars similarly did the same thing with TROS. Unfortunately, Star Wars is, fortunately, Star Wars has several other key streamlines.
Yeah, it's diversified in its story enough that it could
survive.
But you could even see from a merchandising perspective, there was zero Rise of Skywalker merchandise post TROS. It was all Mandalorian. Everything had shifted to what was marketable. And unfortunately, like, only so many people want to buy Baby Yoda again and again and again. And now it's like much of that stuff is either discounted or just not selling. So,
really?
Yeah.
I go to the comic store every week, and the Baby Yoda stuff is not being discounted just yet, and more of it is coming out.
Okay,
on the regular.
I mean, I'm talking about like the regular stores, because like where Disney especially makes its money. This is such a weird conversation, but where Disney makes its money is on like toothpaste brands and like, you know, like baby Yoda being on toothpaste. Frozen toothpaste.
Baby Yoda baby wipes.
Yeah, exactly. But like frozen toothpaste still sells. If we were to compare age.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Targets, you know? And I don't know if Grogu individually has that much longevity as Frozen.
Right.
That's all.
I mean, Frozen was marketed to young ladies. Grogu is marketed to adult men.
Oh, certainly, yeah. But I think that there are kids that love him.
There definitely are, but our son never even watched the second season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, no, it definitely turned him off.
He wasn't invested in that at all. He didn't even finish the first season, really. It was like, it's just too adult. It's too slow moving in its own way.
Yeah.
Not enough cute hijinks for little kids, which is why The Phantom Menace remains hands down like this current millennial generation and the Zoomer generation's favorite, because it's just so geared for the vision of kids.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. It was brilliant. And it brought in a whole new generation of Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
Like, Clone Wars did that too. And Rebels did that really well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Both of them did it so well. But you know what they didn't do? They didn't leave the kid behind.
Yeah.
And that I don't get that motivation in this episode. Leaving the kid behind.
Oh, we're back to actually the episode. Sorry, that was a weird side tangent. Yeah. Okay. I sort of get the motivation of like, you can't be seen publicly because, you know, people are tracing you and stuff like that.
Yep.
But it was like from a meta perspective, and I should clarify, I really loved this episode a lot.
Oh, wow.
So,
really?
Yeah, no, I did. It did certain things for me, which I really loved. And
Tell me about it. What are the things that it did for you?
I liked that the mission and Omega's story were all in service of giving Omega a bigger purpose with the team that didn't involve killing. It involved thinking about things in a different way than the Bad Batch was prepared to do. And I loved that. And I thought it was a good way to go about that, where she was put out of her comfort zone and into a new situation where she had to prove herself on her own. And we've never really seen those skills on her own because it's always been under danger. Whereas if you have time to think, you can come up with a good strategy. And this was a good way to show that. Maybe it was a little bit Deus Ex Machina to have Hunter be like, no, Omega, no mission for you. But I was okay with it because they did have the bounty hunter motivation. The plot with the Bad Batch just felt a little bit ham-fisted with the we hate the separatists. It's like, well, everybody is now under the Empire's thumb, so
Not to them, though.
I know.
Right? They're only there at the very beginning, the formation of the Empire. So for these guys, that's still all fresh to them, right? They haven't had any Empire knowledge. They've run.
They just don't trust them because they're being hunted by them. Yeah.
The Separatists are our bad guys. The Empire only exists because the Separatists got into a huge galaxy-spanning war with the Republic. These are the bad guys. What are we doing?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And they don't know the behind the scenes that Palpatine was behind both sides, of course.
And it was perfectly done. Echo was pissed the entire time, and none of his colleagues were willing to give him the time of day to vent his frustrations at working with the people that had turned him into this walking human droid.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like that was a really important part to it.
That's where the common ground comes from.
Yeah.
Right? The Separatists and the former Republicans both have common ground in fighting the Empire.
Yeah.
And I feel like Raxus and our senator, Dr. Julian
It's going to
Bashir,
become super important.
Will have relevancy down the road in what's to come for our rebellion.
It does feel like another story chess piece or something that's being put on the table. Like we kind of have all of this
What do you
evidence.
mean chess piece? You mean little monster that gets moved forward, right?
Yeah, that's actually called Dejeric.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Monster chess is what I have called it my entire life.
Your entire life.
Let the Wookiee win at the monster chess.
Yeah. Exactly. But no, from a meta story perspective, we know it things are building on each other. The clones are being used by the Empire. There's probably going to be some sort of end solution to the clones at some point.
Yep.
Or something. The team knows how to remove the chips. Thus, hey, they have an option if they want to save clones. Right?
Absolutely.
They're allying with the Separatists. They know the start of the rebellion people. And now Omega is a master strategist.
Or has all along been a master strategist.
Which sort of plays into your prediction or hope that she would be able to control the clones in some way.
Yeah. Does she become Fulcrum?
I always thought that Ahsoka was the first Fulcrum, but maybe this would be a cooler concept, like that she's actually the first Fulcrum and sets up the whole like information network. And it would play into Cassian.
Yep.
That's going to come out, which would be really cool.
It seems to me that it would be more likely that this is the route they're going with Omega than force-fitting Ahsoka into that initial role. Ahsoka takes it on for a while.
Yeah. I mean, like we know Callus was Fulcrum for a while as well, so maybe it is more of a
was he just going by it?
Well, maybe you become a Fulcrum when you have like a specific role within the rebellion. We don't know. There's some cool stuff, right? Yeah, it's cool. Absolutely. This is all cool stuff. I like overall like this episode just really spoke to me. I know that they were separate and I was okay with that because separation means that you grow as individuals so that when you come back, you can have conversations. And that's exactly what we saw at the end of the episode.
Yeah, you can't have somebody miss someone if they're always together.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And Hunter misses Omega during
so much. He brings her up. Yeah. And also, it's important because when you get back together, you've learned things, you've experienced things, and then you can communicate those things with the people that are around you. Mm-hmm. And that gives you something to build further on your own relationships. This is something that we talk about all the time with our separate hobbies. It's like, what do you talk about if you're always together? Well, having separate hobbies allows you to be like, hey, this is what happened with me today. Isn't that cool? And I really love this. Or I'm hanging out with these people.
Yes.
Okay, so did you want to talk a little bit about the themes of this episode?
Well, first I want to complain with Sid.
Okay, fine. Complain with Sid.
You were told to keep Omega safe and on the down low. And then you introduced Omega
to the world of gambling.
Not just the world of gambling, but you introduced Omega to like what looked like a Thrawn hold like place card. She literally is playing a character that looks so like Thrawn with face tattoos.
Yeah. Like, did he have red eyes? I don't think so.
No. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, she is playing a strategy game.
Yeah, no, fair.
And they insert this guy he is very much a Thrawn lookalike. You can tell that is definitely something that's being, at least teased to us, because Thrawn is and has been one of the key antagonists to all of Rebels.
And he's also being set up as a major antagonist potentially in the future in the Ahsoka story. That's, at least from second season of Mandalorian, what they're setting up.
And so you put a blue-skinned strategist in front of Omega, and Omega beats him.
Yeah.
Like,
they're saying something with that.
You're playing your hand there.
Yeah.
And I can't see how it wouldn't come back to bite them that Sid revealing and having Omega play in this tournament or challenging all these people and making all this money isn't going to have some form of repercussion.
Yeah, it's certainly like it was a quick path to having them be debt free.
Yeah.
And that those things always come with a catch.
That debt was always like
a weird one.
Well, it made perfect sense. Like, hey, you have a debt. You need to clear it. But I love the fact that we never knew how much it was, how much had they earned to break it down.
That didn't really matter.
This isn't Two Broke Girls here, where at the end of every episode of the Bad Batch,
now they're negative $3.
They have $27.87. What'll happen in episode 4?
What a shout out to that show. I love that show so much.
I loved the first 2 seasons of that show, and then it kind of just started to unravel.
Yeah.
For me.
Well, I stopped watching, so I assume it unraveled. But I love Kat Dennings.
She's amazing in everything she does.
Yeah.
So we've got our 2 stories here going on. And also, just to point out, there's only 21 scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, we're set. They are very much sticking to that 18 to 22 scene gamut that they do.
Yeah.
They're clear, and each one of these scenes is really well thought out from a camera angle, artistic perspective.
Absolutely.
And even the beautiful architecture rat maze race between the walkers is also brilliantly organized and orchestrated. Like those slow moving rat walkers, just
that's actually something somebody had pointed out, that like the weirdest thing is to see, and they had that happen in Rebels, where the giant walkers were chasing after the fishing trawler that Rex was on, and they were like, we didn't realize how silly a walker chase scene would look, but they made this chase scene look super interesting, even though the walkers, the little ones from the Clone Wars, are so weird and everything like that, and it's slow. It is a slow chase scene that they make work. It's just brilliant.
They make it work for several ways by having it be tight quarters, quick turns, which they can do as they go around a corner, and then shooting their bullets over the buildings and their missiles and whatnot.
Different angles and things like that, yeah.
So well done.
It was so tight, yeah.
Yeah. Everything that happened on Raxus was just a delight visually to watch.
Yeah.
The droid's interaction with the clone troopers.
Oh, I want to talk about that droid.
RX-9?
Yeah.
RZ-9? RZ? I would just like to ask...
GS8.
So I was completely wrong on every single letter. That's just perfect. Good work, Kyle. GS8. I would like to ask you out there, listener, hit me up with who your favorite droid is. I'd like to do a straw poll. So when you find this, we'll give it like 2-3 months because people don't listen to this right away. But, hit me up on Twitter, or send a note through the forum, or send me a note at taverntalesdm@gmail.com, or howsoever you get a hold of me, that's fine. Tell me, who is your favorite droid in all of Star Wars?
You already know my answer.
It can be Chopper. It can be
R2-D2.
RS-8. Is it RS-8 or RS-9?
GS8.
Good Lord, you just told me and I can't remember it.
To be fair, you just had your COVID vaccine. So
8.
Yeah, and she was wonderful.
I loved her so much.
Yeah.
So much more than the protocol droid. Not the protocol, the Sean?
Yeah, she was played by Sean Clifford, who had a previous role on Fleabag. That's where she was known from most recently. So, yeah.
She was amazing.
She had a solid British voice.
Yes.
Right? And had the right attitude when the Bad Batch were like, wait, we're being hired by a droid. It's like, yes. Do you have a problem with that? I'm
just following the dictates of what my master has told me to do.
Yes, exactly. So perfect. I love droids.
I love this droid that has a sense of like autonomy, right? This droid is used to receiving instructions from her master and then having to extrapolate those missions.
Oh, absolutely.
This droid has some advanced level programming here.
Yes.
Because this droid's like, I have figured out the scenario. I don't know where I am.
Exactly. Like new and like, okay, like reminded me so much of R2-D2, right? Because
really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, just in the way that like, hey, improvisation and like being able to understand the nuance of the situation. Yeah. She's a good.
She reminded me of C-3PO because she is intelligent, communicative, and understands the underlying request of her master.
I don't think C-3PO ever understands the underlying request of her master. You. Are we going to have an R2-D2 C-3PO battle here?
That might very well happen one day. But since I've asked you all who your favorite droid is, Marie-Claire's many times over told you that R2-D2. She even did a podcast episode on R2-D2.
I did a podcast episode on C-3PO.
Yes. It is not as good as your R2-D2 episode. I will just say.
I thought it was really great.
Well, the things that your guest had to say were delightful. Not the lady who doesn't really like
Wow.
R2-D2's OTP.
Yeah. No, they are OTP. And much like you and I, like I have R2-D2 on my keychain, and I bought you a little C-3PO that you have on your keychain.
Yes.
Because we're life mates just like them.
I try to carry the goldenrod in my heart at all times.
Do you always like give the odds and everything like that?
No, I'm not one to give the odds.
Yeah.
But I do calculate the odds.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm very good at calculating the odds on how something is, whether or not something is going to be successful or not, especially the not.
So back to GS8. She has some wonderful interactions with the Bad Batch overall.
Oh, it's great.
They're prejudiced towards her. She quickly makes them realize, like, oh, hey, you guys are idiots.
They're good at what they do. She's good at what she does.
She absolutely is. And she fills in the spot of Omega, which Hunter is pining for, much to Tech's, like, very literal interpretation of the situation.
Yeah.
One small little thing that happened at the start of the episode that I absolutely love is that Sid has nicknames for all of the Bad Batch.
Yes.
Goggles, bandana.
Yeah.
Right? So what is Echo's and Wrecker's?
I don't know.
Nicknames. Let's guess.
Okay.
Muscles for Wrecker, maybe?
Oh, we don't. She hasn't referred to them
I don't
by
think
nickname.
so. No. Maybe Muscles?
Or
I wonder.
Big Guy.
Or Big Guy, yeah. And then what do you think Echo's is?
Well, I thought that there was also like Dark and Stormy. Is that also Hunter? Because she referred to him as Dark and Stormy.
Yeah, that's also Hunter. He's bandana and Dark and Stormy.
Well, yeah, she'd be really mean and be like mostly droid. Or just grumpy.
Yeah. I actually can't wait until I hear the nicknames, because to me it reminded me of the conversation we had early on in the day about BTS, and I was describing their actual names, and you're like, no, High Voice or Dance Captain.
Yeah, you have to call them by what I know them
I
to
know,
be. It makes no sense to me when you're like, that is V, and that is Jin, and that is Sandra.
Not Sandra. No, but
Sandra isn't in BTS?
No. But
could have fooled me.
But this just sort of reminded me of that, like, you know, that you had nicknames for BTS, and that Sid has these nicknames which are like not insulting at all, like Goggles, bandana. It's like literally identifying them with what they wear, which sort of is a bad thing, but
well, it's funny too, because they are clones.
Yeah.
So like they are supposedly all supposed to look alike.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they work very hard to differentiate themselves. Bad Batch doesn't have to do that. They all look very different. None of them look like actual clones. So it should be easy to call them by their name, because you won't get confused as to which one is which. They're the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And she basically refuses to call them by their names.
Yeah. Which some people do that, like, as a way. But to me, it reminded me a lot of how when you're in a workplace with a coworker and they give you a nickname that you don't like.
Yeah.
And how it's a way of them sort of controlling the situation.
Yeah.
When you're given a nickname and then you feel like you can't, like, push back on them to say, I don't like that nickname.
Yeah.
That's what it was to me.
Yeah. You also have to feel like you can push back.
Yeah.
Because I had a colleague brand new to the company, and his initials are J and C because his name was John Conway. And what?
I just don't know if you want to say John Conway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So his initials are JC. Mm-hmm. And one of my coworkers, who had like 12 years of seniority, insisted on always calling him JC. Mm-hmm. Not because those were his initials, but because in many ways he looked like she idealized Jesus Christ too. So she always called him JC.
And he was not a religious person.
No, but that's not the point here too. She's basically saying, hey, Jesus.
Hey, Jesus.
every time she calls him JC, and everybody knows it. And he didn't feel like he could approach her about it because of the level of seniority, the fact that she always gives everybody these little nicknames, the fact that it seems innocuous because those were his initials. And I literally had to flex my own seniority and go to her to say, you have to stop calling people these nicknames because they don't like them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I am not on Ord Mandel, so I can't go and tell Sid to stop calling these people by, dark and stormy
physical identifiers.
Goggles. You need to these are people and have a name that is integral and core to themselves.
Yeah.
It might be why I've never had a nickname.
You've never had a nickname, although you do like to give people nicknames and you won't call them if they don't like it, of course. Yeah. There is how do we know that Sid is not really a good person?
I think at the end of the day, Sid is a good person.
I mean, yes, but she judges the value of the person based on what they can provide to you, her. Yeah.
What can you bring me for money?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a capitalist at heart.
She's absolutely a capitalist. Yeah.
But I don't know if money means that much to her. But there's also that piece too, right? If she betrays the Bad Batch, that's a mark against her reputation that will never be.
That's true. No, I was just thinking about the friendship, quote unquote, that developed with Omega, and it was because she's so useful to Sid.
Yeah.
In the end.
Utility is really important to Sid. But she made Sid a lot of money. And that makes Sid happy.
True. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance there. Is what it is. It was a good episode full of a lot of opportunities for thought. There was great character development for Echo and Hunter. I mean, we see so much Hunter stuff, but it was nice to see something from Echo. And the fact that they had to go and rescue separatists because the Empire, they do not, the slate has been washed clean. They don't care who you are, whether you are a separatist or loyalist to the Republic. The Republic is gone. Everyone has found common ground against the Empire. And I really enjoyed it the whole way through. I loved the little scene we got in the little tunnels. That when they blew open the wall, everything led and stacked so nicely on top of each other.
It was a very tight episode, yeah.
And still built towards an ongoing saga. We are getting more story and there is substance.
Yeah, and they're definitely showing more of the Empire's sort of meta actions and plot that are going to be leading into future activities. And yeah, it was a good brick laying episode.
Absolutely.
That leads to the path of the future storytelling.
Yep. I think this might even be my second favorite episode after the Braca episode.
So why aren't we doing death count this week?
Because no one died.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that right now.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Let's talk about the fact that
no one died.
Yep. That we can tell.
But I mean, we could tell like when people were knocked off screen, they kind of like sounded like they were just being knocked out.
Oh, yeah. People were definitely being knocked out. The Bad Batch did not kill anyone. Furthermore, none of the clone troopers took out any innocent civilians at all. Which is really impressive when you come to think about it.
Yes.
Because I had fully expected once our senator, Dr. Julian Bashir, had turned that people were going to die. I had figured that was definitively going to happen, but those walkers marched up and everyone ran away. Which also, like, a real sign of the times too, right? Like, now the police are here and people are protesting. What started out as just a social engagement has become a protest, and I loved that they used the term curfews.
Yes.
As like we're doing this for your benefit.
Oh, yeah.
Much the same we've heard ongoing the last year plus in the United States. Anytime Black Lives Matter reaches a certain threshold in the United States, they go to enforce a curfew as though that's of benefit and boon to the citizens themselves. When really this is just one other subtle form of control the government and those in power wish to inflict upon those they are supposed to represent.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is a form of especially when it's used in this sort of way. It is a form of sort of like leaning into authoritarianism, right?
Absolutely.
I think that all that remains is like, because we've talked about the themes, we've talked about where things are going. Bad Batch, Sad Batch.
Yeah, what did you think?
I wasn't able to come up with one this week.
Oh, really? So you should go Bad Batch, Sad Batch.
I know. Like it was Rad Batch if I had to say anything, because it was such a solid episode.
It was a really solid episode. We've gone through a litany of synonyms and
I know
rhyming words for each of these.
This is why it makes it good. So, like obviously you can use Rad Batch if it was just good for you.
Yeah, I'll go with Glad Batch.
Yay.
I'm glad to see these are the sorts of episodes I want on a regular basis. Each episode needs to lay bricks, to quote your metaphor earlier.
Yeah, towards the road of
lay bricks to build the wall or monument or whatever it is, or frame of the door for
the journey.
Exactly. Wherever we're going, we need to build upon that.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel has been doing that exceedingly well, both building the wall up and building the foundation over as they've developed their shows. And I keep feeling like Star Wars is really just adding tinier bricks to a thing and a construction and a thing they've already built. Mm-hmm. The road's already there. Well, let's add some hedges. Let's put another signpost up. You know, they've already made their monument. Well, let's add 3,000 grit sandpaper. In many ways, they're not showing me anything new.
Yeah.
Everything that Bad Batch is developing is just in homage to the initiation of A New Hope.
And to Clone Wars and to
Clone Wars has already happened. Like, they're literally in this little gap of all these things they've already talked about.
No, you're right. Yeah.
And that's why I'm really glad.
It has to lean into new ideas and new concepts that they haven't covered before. And my hope is that they're going to do a Clone Troopers Rebellion, and then it will be something that has never been done before.
But also and that's why I'm glad too. Like, not just that.
Glad Batch.
But because this element of the Separatists.
Yeah.
The Separatists are the bad guys. They made the droid armies. They did these terrible things that allowed Sidious to take control and become emperor.
Yep.
And now our good guys have found common ground with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, like, you did point out that this is the closest that the titles have been.
Absolutely.
I mean, thematically, the titles are always kind of on point, but they always feel like just slightly off.
Rampage?
Yeah, I mean, okay, but the Rancor did go on a rampage.
Did you walk through what?
So if you just read like the one-liner summary, the titles work. But when you actually dig into the episode, you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always been my struggle.
And this one doesn't. My only issue is the thumbnail. The thumbnail makes you think it's going to be one thing, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's the other.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited. As I've said the last couple of weeks, I am very excited to see where things are going to go next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the question. Did she win?
Did she win what?
Against Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know.
I assume she does. Truthfully, I do.
I only assume she does as well.
Yeah.
Hunter's smart and Hunter's great, but that's not Hunter's strong suit.
No. They don't have a strategist.
No.
And this is such a good place for her, and it's such a good role, and I'm absolutely in love with this idea. It's great. Because it's also, it gives her something that nobody else in the Bad Batch can give.
Yeah. No one else fills that niche.
Mm-hmm.
I had thought that maybe Echo would be because he had all those plans.
Yeah.
But they've really moved past that.
Mm-hmm.
And since the war has ended, right? And now we're into the
Now
Empire.
he's just their curmudgeon-y old brother.
Yeah, who needs a good oiling.
Yeah. Poor Echo.
Yeah, I agree. So.
Yes.
We have a few episodes left of the Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm. This was only episode 10, and there's going to be 14 this season.
So there's 4 more weeks of the Bad Batch.
Yes.
Left through all of July.
Yes.
So people are going to get to hear a lot more of this style of Marie Claire and Kyle.
Yes.
Because we are going to be on Vancouver Island at a 100-year-old renovated farmhouse with our family as an extended working vacation.
Yeah.
And we are going to be recording these in the best environs we can possibly manage. We're going to put up Loki for the last 2 weeks, the best possible way we can manage.
We're going to figure it out.
And we're going to catch every single thing we possibly can. And I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Bad Batch Reports. Kyle, where can people find you if they're looking for you?
If you're looking for me, I don't owe you money.
Okay.
So I don't know why you're looking for me. But yeah, I've already dropped my question for everyone. I'm hoping people give me an answer because the droid you love really does speak a lot about who you are and what you like and what you do. Like it's that there's some really key things about your favorite droid that tell a lot about who a person is. And I'd like to know that. So hit me up on Twitter at TavernTalesDM or via email taverntalesdm@gmail.com or via the submission form on the website whattheforce.ca. I'm pretty sure Marie Claire's not looking for me to announce this, but I brought them. And so over the next month, Marie Claire and I are going to reread the first 6 issues of the comic book, The High Republic. And then we are going to sit down and discuss that at length. And I'm overjoyed for that because this is Star Wars in a way we've never seen before.
Yeah.
This is Star Wars. I know Marie Claire's covered the basics of it and the setup of it, but we're going to just talk about the comic itself. It's 6 months old now. It has a devoted following. We know it has pretty good legs on it, and I am excited to delve into it because Marie Claire has a good understanding of the over-arc of what's happening in the High Republic. And I know nothing except for what's going on in this comic book.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't wait to detail that ongoing with you.
Yeah, it'll be fun to cover kind of the comic aspects of the High Republic because I did cover the initial 3 books with Kyle Larson, which was really fun.
Yes, he's so insightful.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to read his articles, they're always great.
Yes, follow him on Twitter too. He lost like 10 followers this week. Kyle D. Larson on Twitter deserves a follow. He is smart, insightful, kind, and once did a 5-mile run in a circle around his apartment and time-lapsed it, and it was delightful to watch. He got very tired.
Yeah, that was during like the peak of quarantine.
Yep.
Yeah. Great guy. Amazing guy. Love him very much. But yeah, I got to cover that, like the first 3 books with that. And now Rising Storm is coming out and sort of like the next phase of the High Republic. So this is a good time to kind of look back and be like, this is what was said.
I'm excited.
Yes. So we will be working on that probably over the course of July. So it'll come out after the Bad Batch. And then there's some other stuff that I've already recorded. And there's plans to cover Visions, of course. So that'll be cool. And then I'm still figuring out how I'm going to cover the stuff that's in the fall.
Oh, and get Marie Claire's Patreon back up to over 100 people so that we get to hear her delightful 20-ish odd minutes of what's going on in Marie Claire's brain this week, because those were fun. And we need more people back in the Patreon to make that happen.
Yes. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. Yeah. Kyle, where can people follow you on Twitter?
They can follow me if they want to.
At Tavern Tales DM.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for tuning out this week. We will be back next week with another episode of Bad Batch Report.
Wherever we are.
Wherever we are. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force. Brad, Melody, Night Huntress in Wild Space, Felicia, How Rude, Anna Perez, Macau Mom, Neil, James, Joe Allen D, Christian Luca, Josh Johnson, Scott C, and Susan. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps people find the show. Check out our other channel on YouTube or other podcast feeds, What the Fiction. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, or our website, whattheforce.ca, or on our Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.